What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Extra Point College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Carnes, joined as always by my co-host, Daniel Hammock, and this week with David Cobb of CBS Sports. He's back. David, this is year 3 of doing the segment with us, our buying, selling stock and teams. Welcome back to the Extra Point.
Yeah, we need to do a progress report, see how our teams fared from the past couple of years. I'm actually not sure I want that to happen, but at least it sounds like a good idea.
So I actually had this pulled up, and then I accidentally closed the tab.
I can tell you last
year's.
I had LSU, and
As
I'm
a
just
buy.
saying. I'm just saying.
I also remember you being pretty high on Miami, though, Daniel.
That was the year before, and both years I would be wrong.
We're 0 for 2 on Miami. You won't catch me doing that again. Hold on, I'm pulling it up. It is.
Will we?
I know that I sold. Here we go. Daniel, last year you said buy LSU and Ole Miss stock,
And I sold Ohio State.
and what grade would
forget
what grade would you give LSU and Ole Miss? I feel like that's a solid
I think. Well, I did say
B
10-2
plus.
LSU. They still won 10 games, but technically during the season they went 9-3 because they lost to Texas A&M. So I was really nailing down that 10-2 LSU because it rhymed and it felt good. But I feel good about the LSU one. Ole Miss, what was their win total? Did we say?
7.5 was the run total. It was right at 7 last year.
What, they went 9?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, 2 for 2.
David, Arizona.
Yeah, they made
win.
progress. They made
Louisville.
progress.
No, yeah, that's a big win in Louisville.
Louisville.
Fire the coach or encourage their coach
Yeah.
to take
And
Well,
then
hey, they
promotion.
actually Satterfield tied his best win total at Louisville last year. He won 8
That's
games.
true. There you go. Their win total is right at 7 too. So that's 2 wins. I had North Carolina, big win. Their win total was like a 7.5. They won 9 games. Yeah, they lost like the last 5 games they played in. Didn't end well, and then Texas.
Yeah.
Ewers doesn't get hurt. They beat Alabama. So I just
They were right there. If Ewers doesn't get hurt,
Daniel, so you sold Ohio State and USC.
feel good about
I feel like that's 0 for 2. Ohio
No.
State was a point away from beating Georgia.
my sell for Ohio State was correct. They were 11.5. They were supposed to go undefeated. They lost to Michigan. And then I said I'm selling them going undefeated and winning the national championship because I said relative to where they are.
You said relative. That's right.
And so they lost in the playoff and they lost to their bitter rival for the second year in a row in blowout fashion. I think that's a dub for me. I'll concede USC. That's fine.
All right.
That's fair. That's fair.
David, NC State and Iowa State.
And they both flopped.
They both flopped. 2 for 2.
I mean, NC State maintained its Dave Doran standard, so that wasn't like a total flop, but they didn't have the breakthrough that everybody thought.
Yeah, they weren't going to win the ACC like they were trying to portray.
Correct.
I had Oklahoma State, big win.
There you go.
And then South Carolina. South Carolina, I felt really good about heading into the last 2 weeks of the season. And then they beat Tennessee and Clemson back to back. And I was like, well, man, that could have ended a lot better for me. But all right.
On the aggregate, we know college football. Listen to that. That was what,
Correct.
2-3 losses out of 12 opportunities. So
David definitely. Okay, here we go. Here's 2 years ago. I don't know who picked who. Actually, I do. Miami was Daniel. and TCU was the other one. David, 2 years ago, you had Iowa and Ole Miss, and Iowa won the Big Ten West.
Oh, dude, I became a rock star in Iowa for like a period of 2 months. Yeah.
And Ole Miss won 10
Ole Miss
games.
went to the Sugar
that
Bowl.
was their
That's
their
right.
10-win season.
Wow, I'm really good at this, guys. So take what I say tonight to the bank.
I said Ohio State and USC, and then USC fired Clay Helton after that, and Ohio State lost to Michigan for the first time in like a decade. Daniel, you sold Florida and Texas A&M, and Florida fired Dan Mullen, and
Excellent
then
choice.
A&M. I don't know what they did that year.
I mean,
Underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, that's not been great. David, you sold Oregon and North Carolina.
Well, I sold Cristobal, so I know that worked.
That's true.
Yeah.
I sold Notre Dame and Clemson feel really good about that one. I was like, Clemson, they lost Trevor. We're going to go back to.
You were ahead of the ship on that one, and you were pounding your chest all off season, and then it came to fruition. So great job. That was a good one. That was a good one, Jacob.
So as an aggregate, for sure, we're
our
doing
hit rate
great.
Hit rate is like 80% at least.
Yeah, so people will need to pay attention to this. If they want to know about college football, this is where you find out in this show leading up to the season. This is before all the talking heads have had time to spin their stories and get you believing
right.
whatever the media believes by the time the season comes.
Never listen to that liberal media.
That's right.
Hey.
So before we buy and sell some team stock, we do got to mention some big college football news happened today because the number one player of the 2024 class comes off the board. Kirby Smart has a 5-star quarterback. What's he going to do with it? It's a good thing for Georgia, right? It's a good thing that Georgia has some good things going on.
It might be a good thing for Ohio State in a few years too.
Oh, it could be.
That's true.
Very well could be.
I'm just glad that Georgia, they needed some good news. Not a lot going on good in Athens, so they needed some good news today.
Oh, thank goodness. Those folks are getting restless, not having any good news in a while. But no, yeah, Dylan Raiola commits. First domino to fall potentially on a loaded class of skill position players and all of the sort. And, Kirby, always an ace recruiter, now with two back-to-back, with back-to-back national championships. And now he's got his pillar for this class to build around. We're entering, this next month is the biggest recruiting month of the year. So that's for every school, I'm not just talking about Georgia. I'm talking about June is packed with official visits everywhere. So we're going to be probably having a bunch of that news coming here on the Extra Point. But yeah, this is the time to kind of lock in who your pillars are so that you can go have them help you recruit everybody.
Big news in the recruiting world. Okay, so stock up, stock down. Who are we buying? Who are we selling? This is relative to expectation. So if you're new to the stock world, obviously, you typically, if you want the biggest gains, you buy low, sell high, right? So maybe we sell some teams that have some very high expectations, but we don't think are going to quite meet those expectations. Or maybe they have low expectations and we still don't think they're going to meet even those low expectations for a team. And then the opposite. If we think, hey, a team's expected here and we think they're going to be a lot better than that, we're going to buy some stock in those teams. David, since you have like a 99% hit rate, why don't you lead us off? What is a team that you were buying stock in heading into the season?
I didn't even realize that until we went through the exercise of looking back at past years, which was really cool, by the way, that you just we didn't plan that. Like I brought that up and then you just clicked twice and pulled it up, which was cool. So I've done this. Effect. Yeah, I've done this school before. I was partially influenced by the fact that I recently wrote ACC spring overreactions for CBS. So yes, we are going to the ACC and we are looking at Louisville.
Yes.
Year one under Jeff Brom, obviously replacing Scott Satterfield, who is now at Cincinnati. Satterfield maxed out at 8 wins twice, but we all know the ceiling for Louisville is much higher than 8 wins. And I think they're going to be pretty good out of the gate in year one under Jeff Brom because Jeff Brom is bringing in a quarterback who knows the system. Jack Plummer spent 4 years with Jeff Brom at Purdue. He was kind of, was never really the guy, for sure for a long period of time, but he got a lot of reps in that system. And then he went to Cal last year. And if you could throw for over 3,000 yards at Cal, I mean, come on, you must be a good quarterback because that offense stinks. And I say this as somebody who once upon a time had a lot of faith in Cal. Yeah, right. Yeah. Thankfully, I never
notable
said that.
Cal guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, I never said that on this podcast, but I did say that in other places many times. Anyway, so I like Louisville, and here's a unique thing about it. Defense projects at 19 and Bill Conley SP plus, 7 home games. And only 3 true road games, which is bizarre. They open at a neutral in Mercedes-Benz. Then their big non-con game is against Indiana at Lucas Oil Stadium, which will be a very neutral environment, right? So anyway,
Dude, I literally just said this. I was gonna say they're playing in 4 NFL stadiums with their
yes,
5 road games.
yes,
Because they
exactly.
play Miami and Pitt.
Yeah, exactly. And those are sterile environments that aren't, I mean, unless Miami turns a corner here, that's not going to be lit. So anyway, long-winded. I like Louisville. I think they are in position to match or exceed the win total of Scott Satterfield's best season in year 1 under Jeff Brom.
Dude, and they're over under win total. DraftKings released those this week, or last week. Anyway, is at 8. So Vegas
okay.
thinks they're at least going to match.
Wow. And Vegas thinks
Satterfield's best year.
I mean, they must have like read my notes or something, but that's annoying. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, even at 8, which stinks. I hate cowards. Give us a half number.
Right.
All right, Louisville. Daniel, where are you taking us next? What's the team you're buying stock in?
Well, I'm very glad that you brought up Louisville and the ACC power to be that is Louisville, and how you think they're going to be great out of the start. Because my team I am high on is the team they play the first week on that Friday night Chick-fil-A kickoff.
Let's go.
Really?
Georgia Tech. I am high on the Jackets. Of course, we're talking about relative to what they are. They have a projected win total of 5.
4.5. All right. So you're even better.
Go Dogs. As I go Jackets here. But let's talk about it for a second. So Brent Key takes over last year. The identity changes, and it's not necessarily a full-on offensive mindset change, defensive mindset. It's an overall culture change. They get away from this rah-rah, all the bells and whistles. Let me show off all these things, 404 for the culture. And all these teams stop trying to beat the tar out of them because they don't like Jeff Collins. They get Brent Key, who is an alumnus of Georgia Tech, has coached with Nick Saban, has coached with these others, and has established himself as a respected coach throughout. But he takes over this team. They beat ranked Pitt at the time. And then, of course, it just takes them through. They end up having a respectable 5 wins, 4 of those coming under Brent Key. He goes 4-4 as the head coach, interim head coach last year. They fall just short of making a bowl game. This year, I have them bowling. I have them going to a bowl game, and they have a tough schedule. They have a tough schedule for what they're trying to do. They have Clemson and Georgia on the schedule every year, so that's 2 potential losses to just kind of pencil in. And then they do have Ole Miss that they play out of conference. I think that's going to be a tough game. I think that's one that they probably will lose. I do think that they're going to manage most of this schedule the rest of the way. I'm focused mostly on what they've done in-house. They brought in an offensive coordinator, Buster Faulkner, coming from Georgia. He was one of those guys on the staff under Todd Monken, kind of as an analyst who really helped Georgia the past 2 years. Some thought that he might be the next guy, the heir apparent if Monken left. Obviously, that ended up being Coach Bobo for Georgia. So Buster Faulkner sees a writing on the wall, comes down the street to Georgia Tech. He is a local product. He played at Parkview High School. I think he's going to eventually be a good recruiter. He's obviously only been there a few months, but I think he'll be able to pull some into that program. But I like his quarterback room. Zach Pyron had a good later half of the season. He was injured a little bit. He's going to be a sophomore. They bring in Haynes King, a transfer from Texas A&M, who Haynes King playing SEC ball, I'm going to give a thumbs down. Haynes King playing ACC ball, I'm going to give a thumbs up. I think that he raises the floor of their quarterback room. I think Pyron's the winner of that job, but I think Haynes King gives him a little something. And I don't know what I'm watching, but I think Georgia Tech has 5 legitimate wide receivers, and they just added one this week. They brought in Don Blaylock from Georgia, coming over to play under Buster Faulkner, but they brought in Christian Leary from Alabama. They've got some guys who can catch the ball, which is big, and playmakers in space. So big believer in Georgia Tech going to a bowl game this year. So 6 wins. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say 7, but I only have to win 5 to be over on this. Not that we're picking over-unders, but I think people are going to watch Georgia Tech this year, and it's going to feel different. I think they win that Friday night against Louisville.
Ooh, yeah. See, I've got the schedule pulled up, and I see 5. But
I was going to say, I got the 5.
Yeah, to get to 6, you either gotta beat Louisville opening night, which really puts us
Yeah,
head to head here, Daniel. Or
exactly.
they got to win like maybe at Miami, which I wouldn't totally rule out because we'll see if Miami actually opens up the offense or not. And if they don't, then I could maybe see Georgia Tech winning that game.
Yeah,
It's like Boston College is a must win.
Yeah.
Syracuse is a must win at that point. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, every
Virginia
game is
or
a must
Bowling
win if
Green,
you're trying to
yeah.
get to 6.
Oh, it's tough. It's tough. Like I said, that schedule, it's automatic. It's automatic. You've got Clemson and Georgia as losses. So I know that I'm going out on a limb here. UNC is probably a loss. They've got a future NFL quarterback. That being said, let's not overestimate. We are in the ACC, and it's still is the Coastal still. This is still the last year of the Coastal.
No, no divisions.
We're done.
We're
Oh,
done.
we're done. We're done.
We're done.
We're done. That being said, this is still a Coastal veteran. All right, and so they're going to beat like North Carolina this year when you're not expecting it. They're not supposed to.
I wouldn't put it
And
past Mac
everything-
Brown.
But let's just say they do. All right. There's going to be a game that they win that they shouldn't. And then they've got with South Carolina State and Bowling Green, a couple that are just going to be in the bag. And then they're going to navigate this ACC schedule. So I believe in Georgia Tech under Brent Key to kind of get back to having a respectable program.
I'm fine with you buying stock for the season. If I'm buying programs, I'm selling Georgia Tech. This is the school that two coaches turned them down because they couldn't pay their assistants. I'm like, they got to start investing in football before I take them seriously. But hey, 6 wins this year. The Ole Miss being on there is making me. If they had another layup out of conference, I think 6 they could get to. We'll see. Hey, our hit rate's pretty decent. So.
How about we do that? Think about it this way. They have a few layups in conference because it's the ACC. Okay. So think about it that way.
They can. We'll see. All right. You know what? Let's come out guns blazing
Do
with
it.
his first pick. Texas.
Hook 'em.
Oh, yes.
Buying stock in Texas. Number one, I love talking about Texas because anytime we do, our views and listens spike. It's the best. So
What
am
did you
I
say
do-
about Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers?
that's
Yeah.
right. Steve Sarkisian, Arch Manning, Quinn Ewers, Texas. Yeah, it's the best. Am I picking them just to get more views on this? No, I believe this. I put my money on this. So Texas has one of, if not the best quarterback rooms in the country this year. They have one of, if not the best wide receiver room in the country this year. And that's adding play. Like you already know about, oh my gosh, Xavier Worthy. I'm like, everyone knows his name and I couldn't remember it. You're bringing in players like A.D. Mitchell from Georgia. You get back from injury Isaiah Nair, who was the big transfer last year from Wyoming. This offensive line class that was the number one offensive line class last year. They were true freshmen last year. A lot of them played as true freshmen. Now they have a year in the system. This defense, I think, takes a step forward in year 2. I think the front 7 might be one of the best in the Big 12. Sneaky. I think the secondary still might have some holes, but I'm looking up and down Texas' schedule, and I'm like, if they're healthy, and here's the thing, if they're not healthy, again, this goes back to Ewers went down last year. They lose to Texas Tech the week after Bama. This year, they've got not one, but 2 really good backup quarterbacks. They kept Malik Murphy when a lot of Power 5 schools wanted him as their quarterback. He showed out in the spring game. He's the number 2 player. They're going to redshirt Arch Manning. And so, again, this is in a more injury-proof roster than they had last year. I think Texas showed what their ceiling can be last year with the way they played Alabama, even with Ewers going down, like being a point away from beating Alabama last year. The way they beat Oklahoma and Red River. I think you've seen glimpses of what Texas can be under Steve Sarkisian. I think we get it this year. I think Texas goes and wins the Big 12 this year. Their win total's at 9.5. I'm hammering the over, and that's with Alabama on the schedule in week 2 in Tuscaloosa. I think if you're going to give me double digits to Texas, I think you take those and run to the window to bet Texas plus the points. If it's single digits, don't touch it. But I'm just telling you, the power ratings, as much as they love Texas, they love Alabama. And it's because that's how it works, right? Bama's historically been, I mean, especially the last decade, last 4 years, where a lot of the data comes from, it's Bama. And so they're going to lay double-digit points probably in week 2, unless they just have a no-show performance in week 1. And I'm taking the points week 2 if they're double digits. So that being said, I am buying all the stock in Texas that I can buy. I'm doubling down. I was high on them going into the season last year. I don't think I was off there. They showed dramatic improvement last year.
Man, I can't wait to remind you of this when they lose to Kansas State by 24 points in early November. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I was going to say, you can just keep going to this one. Here's the thing. They were on my little cut list of who I'm going to sell because I knew you were going to have them on your buy. But the 8.5, is that what number you saw?
9.5. 9.5.
I got 8.5 somewhere, and I was like, I can't sell them at 8.5.
Oh yeah,
and
no.
So
if you found 8.5 somewhere, send me where you found that.
Yeah.
I'm just...
yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Give me some Texas. I can't wait. I might buy a burnt orange shirt just because. I can't wait. It's juice to the over too, for what it's worth, on DraftKings. So.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're gonna regret this.
I hope not. I'm so excited. Oh yeah, hook 'em. Dave, where are you going next?
Okay. Do y'all have win totals pulled up for like teams around the country by chance?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Let me put 2 on your radar, and I will go whichever direction I like best based on what you tell me. I'm looking at Florida State and I'm looking at Penn State. What sort of numbers are out there on the Noles and the Nittany Lions?
Penn State, you get 9.5. Okay. And I believe Florida State's 10 because I was looking at it today.
A flat 10
even, which is dumb. Yep, flat 10.
Okay. Well, I'm good with that actually with Florida State. Even with them having a roadie at Clemson, I'm going to go stock up on the Noles.
There you go. We're going to get so many views. Florida State, Texas.
Yeah, well, I want to see somebody break through like a Florida State, like a Penn State. Tennessee kind of had that moment last year, not quite, but I think it's been great for college football to see Michigan get back into the mix, right?
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Anytime you get one of these brands that's been knocking on the door or been down and all of a sudden they bust back through and take the sport by storm, it's fun, but that's not why I'm taking Florida State, right? Like that's a personal preference. The reality with Florida State is that they are pretty close to the top of the chart in returning production, both sides of the ball.
Number 1.
They have a Heisman Trophy candidate coming back at quarterback, and Jordan Travis, along with a lot of skill talent. When you get a guy like Jared Verse on the defensive end, who is a lock to go in the first round of the NFL draft, when that guy says, I'm coming back, you're gearing up for a special year. And so with the divisions no longer a part of the ACC championship game picture, even if Florida State loses at Clemson early in the season, that doesn't mean they can't play for the ACC championship game. In years past, it did, because it lost to Clemson. You had to have Clemson lose twice. That's no longer the case because the two teams with the 2 best ACC records will play in the ACC championship game. So I think even if Florida State loses that game, and they could very well beat Clemson, even in Death Valley, I think Florida State ends up playing for the ACC championship game for the first time since 2014. And I would say they meet or exceed that Vegas total of 10.
I love it. I had this as my honorable mention because the flat 10, I was like, I'm right at that number, I think. And I meant to mention this. I pulled up CBS Sports' post-spring top 25.
Oh, don't listen to them.
And Florida State's at 7. And I'm like, I feel like I was very even with what everyone thought on Florida State. By the way, y'all had Texas at 17. 17, David.
Yeah. That's Dennis Dodd, and he's seen that Texas story play out before. Jacob, you should have listened.
Daniel and I have been very high in Florida State. Like when they hired Norvell, we're like, please give it time. Like this will work.
Yeah.
And then we got nervous because like the national championship happens Monday night, and Tuesday, like the next polls come out of like the way too early, and Florida State was like 4, and I was like, whoa. Like not all of us can be high on Florida State. Time out.
Yeah, we were high. We've been high for a while, and it was like crescendoing, and I'm like, at the bowl game when the Cheez-It Bowl, when that I forget the player who went down with the injury, and the whole team came over and like dabbed him up. I'm like, this is like a culture thing, which that's what you've seen with the best teams out there when they're able to kind of catch lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 2019 LSU, that culture. I mean, the culture at Georgia the past couple of years, those teams that get special, it's just like that belief. You talk about Verse coming back. That's exactly what I was believing. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be high on this. I did my rhyme last year by saying 10-2 LSU, so I'm going to say top 8 Florida State.
Okay.
And then I see them ranked as number 4, and I was like, I got to sell them, or I got to do something.
We got to back off.
But I agree with Jacob. I kind of can't. I went away. I did my little what did Aaron Rodgers do? He did like a fast in the dark or something. Yeah. Anyways, he comes back, his retreat in the dark, and he comes back and he's like, all right, yeah. Hey, I've got this clarity. I'm going to sign with the Jets. I've got this clarity. I'm still going to be high on Florida State, but I'm not going to buy them. I'm glad you bought them. Someone needs to buy them.
Right.
I think they're going to be very good this year.
Yes.
So I think that's a phenomenal pick. But yeah. I just get nervous when the national media starts getting in on it and thinking, oh yeah, this is just easy, because it's not easy. But in this case, I think we got the nail on the head.
I mean,
Jordan Travis is doing his best Stetson Bennett. He's wearing 13. He runs around. He's 6th year. It's great. So,
but this is where it's easy, because it was a 10-win team. They're number 1 in returning production. Like they're bringing, it's a 10-win team that didn't lose anybody.
Right.
To your point, they brought back a first-round pick that could have gone on the draft, and like he's back on their roster. They might sign Keon Coleman. Like this roster could get even better with if they sign him out of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
So,
and the fact that you got to play LSU and at Clemson, I don't love the schedule, but they should be favored in every other game on their schedule.
Well, and that's why it's right at 10, where it's like a flat 10. I hate it, but like give me 9.5 and I'll slam the over. But
yep.
At least, LSU is a neutral site in Orlando, kind of like last year was in New Orleans. I hate that. Let's do a home and home. Dude, can you imagine that first? They play on Sunday again?
What's your problem with Orlando?
Yeah, it's Sunday.
Orlando's fine. It's not Doak Campbell Stadium.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. That's why do we do these quasi-neutral site games, like the Indiana Louisville thing being at Lucas Oil? Like that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I wish they would play more games on campus. I'm with you there.
It's like Georgia Tech every year is doing one game at Mercedes-Benz. I'm like, you have one of the coolest college stadiums in the country at Bobby Dodd. Anyway, all right, I digress. Daniel, who's your second bye team?
All right. Well, I'm going to need some help to find out, because I think my site that I was on was maybe last year's site. I don't know. What is Wisconsin's number?
Ooh, Wisconsin. I got flat 9.
Ooh, bye.
Right.
Here's the thing. That's the number I saw. I was hesitant anyways at 9, but I'm playing a principle here where last year I took LSU in the first year of Brian Kelly. I'm going to do the same with Luke Fickell here. And I just think that this is just kind of a match made in heaven. He's built for the Midwest and playing, in Big Ten country. And he's getting to attach himself to a brand that plays the kind of football that he loves to play, which is defense and run the ball. And then, he just decided to get a top 10 offensive coordinator in Phil Longo to come along for the ride. So I'm really high on this. I think that, and also Mike Tressel, defensive coordinator, follows him from Cincinnati. I think that's big. All these guys have, or at least head coach and DC have Big Ten experience. I think that they can do a lot. I think their floor was raised when they brought in Fickell, and I think their ceiling is raised by Longo. So I'm thinking they're going to get back to winning like 10 games a year. I wish this was 8.5, because then I feel real confident. I think they're definitely going to get 9 wins. I don't think there's a question in my mind here. But Fickell doing the whole weird thing where he came in and actually coached the bowl game, we all kind of scratched our heads. Then they go on and win it. I think that actually did something for him with these players going forward. Braylon Allen being back as a running back, bring in Tanner Mordecai after he had some good seasons with SMU. I'm feeling pretty good that Phil Longo's kind of got what he wants at quarterback. Evers being brought in, I think, will be the next guy after Mordecai for this year. I think Evers for next year, but we're just buying for 1 year. But I think they've got all the components. And then you look at the schedule, and I think they're going to kind of run through this schedule. They've got Georgia Southern, Buffalo, Washington State as some out-of-conference games. I mean, Rutgers is on their schedule from the East.
It's as good as you can get out of the East.
They do have Ohio State, so they get
at home, though. Ohio State at home.
So, and I'm not going to necessarily pick them to beat Ohio State, but that being said, stranger things have happened. I think they're going to get to the Big Ten championship this year, and I think it's going to be a game, whoever they play.
Yeah, I like it. I think Fickell's among the first-year coaches best positioned for early success. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like it. I like it a lot. I like Wisconsin. I'm excited to see what Fickell does. And that was a big splash hire. That hire to me says we're investing in football. Like, Luke Fickell turned down several other big jobs. He chose to go to Wisconsin.
Heck, I mean, the school he was at, going to a power conference, like obviously, you can call it the Power 2 now, right, with the Big Ten and the SEC. So clearly a difference there, but like, Cincinnati was leveling up, and he chose to bounce and go to Wisconsin.
That's right. I love it. Wisconsin, good pick. All right, I'm going to go with a Pac-12 team that's returning a Heisman hopeful at quarterback and is going to take a step forward on defense. The Oregon Ducks.
Oregon. Yes. Yes. He's baiting us. Yeah, you couldn't go USC and Texas because that's
no, you
too
can't
much.
have both. That's some bad mojo.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
man.
Well done.
Oregon. So I say Heisman hopeful. Before he got injured, hey, Bo Nix was getting some Heisman hype early in the season. Curious to see how the offense looks with the departure of Kenny Dillingham. I think that was important for Bo Nix last year. Of course, last year will be the only time in his college career that he will have had 2 years with the same offensive coordinator. So hoping that doesn't screw him up. But look, Oregon brought in a top 10 recruiting class and a top 10 transfer class. They got players like Traceon Holden, a wide receiver. They upgraded the wide receiver room. Gary Bryant Jr. from USC. They upgraded their offensive line through the transfer portal as well. They got that tackle out of Rhode Island. They got an interior offensive lineman. That was like a 4-star transfer. So I think Dan Lanning did a really good job of like hitting on high school recruits and then like supplanting through the transfer portal, which is in modern college football. It's exactly what you have to do to sustain success. I mean, look at the best teams. I mean, I think Georgia's the exception in that, last season they didn't take any big transfers in the offseason, but look what Georgia did this offseason. Like they went and plucked the best receiver from 2 in-conference schools to beef up their receiver room. So Lanning's doing that at Oregon as well. Like he went and got a wide receiver from Alabama, a wide receiver from USC, like 2 offenses that are producing really good wide receivers. So I think Oregon is like a sneaky team. I say sneaky. They have the second best odds to win the Pac-12, but this is a team that I'm circling and saying like they're going to play in the for the Pac-12 championship. Not going to pick a winner yet, but I think they're going to be in that game with another team in the Pac-12. And the Pac-12 this year is going to be a deep conference. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I encourage you, if you're a college football fan, watch the Pac-12 this year. They've got, I think, 6 teams that have an 8.5 win total or higher in the conference. Like this is a deep conference. You're like Washington, Utah, Oregon, USC,
Oregon
and
State.
I think Oregon State's a sneaky pick. With DJU coming in there, maybe fixing his stuff. But all that being said, I am buying Oregon. I think this is a really, really sneaky team that I think has the potential to make the college football playoff this year. So their win total set at 9.5. They were ranked 11th on the CBS Sports post-spring top 25. I think this is a top 10 team that's capable of making the college football playoff. So give me the Ducks.
You got to think the defense improves considering who the head coach is, right? Like Dan Lanning isn't going to stand for a poor defense.
You say that, and then Jimbo and his offense has gotten worse every year. He's been at A&M, so I don't expect that with Lanning though. All right, Oregon. Now let's, that was really, really happy. Let's be a little somber or, be sad for some teams we're going to sell some stock in. David, who are you selling stock in?
Yeah, let's go SEC. Let's go Auburn.
Ooh.
Keeping it with some,
goodness.
we're covering some first-year coaches here. Look, I haven't even looked at their win total. I couldn't tell you what it is. If I had to guess, I'd say it's 6.
6, right?
6.5. You were there, right there.
If it's 6.5, I'm definitely stocked down on Auburn. There's a perception that, well, Hugh Freeze is here, so Auburn's automatically going to be good. Why? Why do we think that? I mean, he's a great coach. I'm not saying he won't eventually be successful there, but to assume that he's going to come in year one and flip this thing around out of the gate, I think is misguided. And look no further than the spring game and the fact that we are now pointing towards Peyton Thorne as the primary option at quarterback. To me, that's a red flag, much like it's a red flag that Alabama goes out and gets, Drew Pine. I see it at a very similar, or was it Buckner?
Tyler
Buckner. Sorry, I get my Notre Dame quarterback.
One of those Notre Dame quarterbacks.
Yeah. Anyway, the fact that Peyton Thorne is being heralded as, the potential starting quarterback, to me is a really difficult sign for their fortunes. And not like, obviously Hugh Freeze is a great quarterbacks coach. Like there's no doubt about that. But to me, it comes down to if they're gonna get bowl eligible, they have to win at Cal in their second game of the season. And I think that'll be a 3.5 point spread. Maybe Auburn slightly favored there. But that is not a layup, not a gimme. Look at this, a 3-game stretch. Now there's a bye mixed in here, but still at A&M versus Georgia, at LSU. I mean, that's a murderer's row when you're a first-year coach. I know Hugh Freeze has been successful in the SEC West before. I know he did a good job at Liberty. I think in the long run, this will turn out to be a good hire. I don't see Auburn reaching bowl eligibility in year one, though.
Man. David.
I was like, he's going to disagree with you.
I have Auburn off the record winning 8 games this year.
Wow.
It's now on the record for what?
I am sneaky high on Auburn. They were almost on my list just because the shock value. I figure I might as well mention them since you're stocked down.
Okay.
6.5. I mean, here's the thing. I think Auburn's going to get kind of a good bounce of some luck because Auburn's always due for some luck. They got, Hugh Freeze in there, who's always great with luck as well. But more than that, I think they got some really good defensive transfers. I'm trying to take quarterback out of it because I don't think much of either quarterback that they have. But I'm interested to see. I think they're gonna surprise some people because Auburn is a quick eject, like quick to dismiss. I'm tempted to always do that, especially since they always have Alabama and Georgia on the schedule.
Well, they've historically had success in year one under a new coach. So, I mean, that's another factor working in your favor.
Unless you're Harsin.
But
yeah,
right. Like, I just don't see it, though. But I'm pretty sure Tuberville, Bowden, and Malzahn all had fairly significant success early, and Chiswick as well.
Chiswick won a national championship.
Right.
Chiswick's only good year.
Yeah. But is Peyton Thorne Cam Newton?
Yeah, no, he's not.
No, but Robbie Ashford, I mean, if they tried to, there's a couple of ways that they can. I just think Jarquez Hunter at running back is very solid. They've got a couple of transfers on the offensive line. I think that goes unnoticed. They've been playing with 5 guards recently on the offensive line. I think they're going to have a little bit more. They've got some punch coming in. I don't know. I may be just overvaluing some of it. Tolan coming in from LSU. I'm really high on him at linebacker. They've got 3 good defensive line transfers, and they're keeping Zacchaeus Smith, whatever his name is, Williams. Right. Those guys staying in. I don't know. Call it blind faith. Call it just me thinking a little too. I'm trying to zig when everybody's zagging on Auburn. And that's sometimes how college football works. So I'm glad that you're on the record.
Yeah.
I'm on the record as far as I'm on this podcast, but Jacob's not typing down Daniel buying Auburn. I'm not buying.
It's an unofficial position, but
honorable mention.
yeah, but no, they got to sweep the non-con, and then they got to beat Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. That's their path to bowl eligibility.
And
I
to
think
be
they
fair,
I think they'll beat Texas A&M, and I don't think that's they've beaten Texas A&M when A&M's supposed to be the better team before.
Yeah.
I mean that we're not talking about it. We might talk about it in a little bit, but Bobby Petrino and Jimbo, like how fun is the SEC this year to have to watch that happen
Ooh.
on it's going to happen every
I love
Saturday.
it.
They're just going to be out there having like a measuring contest trying to determine who is
Yeah, right.
calling
Until,
plays.
it's gonna happen every Saturday until mid-October when Petrino gets fired. But yeah, no.
Yeah, one series is gonna go wrong, and Jimbo's gonna be like, "I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have given up play calling." Oh gosh, Auburn for the record, probably has the worst wide receiver room in the SEC, including Vanderbilt. So I hope they can run the ball. Bud Elliott said, if anything, Peyton Thorne allows them to run Robbie Ashford like crazy, knowing that you at least have a competent, like another quarterback in the room at the very least. I'm with you on selling the 6.5
Michigan
seems
State
rich.
fans, how they feel about the departure of Peyton Thorne. I doubt they're too brokenhearted over it.
Oh, the only thing, I think they're more mad that they lost Keon Coleman and then he left, and not he left so that they can keep Keon Coleman. Oh man. All right, Auburn. I will go TCU.
Oh wait. Okay.
Oh no. I didn't go to you, Daniel. Whoops.
Well, I did do a lot of talking.
All right, I'll finish my TCU thought, and then we'll go back to Daniel.
That's fine.
TCU to play for a national championship. They did so in year one of a head coach. They did so. A lot of the reason was their transfer portal class, which they've done again. Their win totals at 7.5. How many one-score games did they win last year?
Quite a few.
It was 7. And
wow.
It's just like if half of those go the other way, not all of them, but if they split those one-score games, you're adding 3.5 losses to their 11-1 season. No, they went 12-0. Yeah, they went 12-0 because that's how they lost and got in. So now you're getting me down to 8.5 being the like a realistic win total. And do I think they're going to catch lightning in a bottle like they did last year? No, because I think Oklahoma and Texas are getting better this year. So even if you flip those, that gets me right back down to 7.5, which is their win total. And I still think they take one step back. So even with me saying they take one step back, I'm already underneath my win total given my kind of crazy math I just did. But I think TCU long-term has the opportunity to run the Big 12. I think Sonny Dykes is a great hire. I just think, again, relative to expectation, if you think TCU is just going to come in and be a top 15 team again, I think you're going to look at the end of the season and be like, whoops, when they're sitting there unranked at the end of the season. So I think enjoy the season you just had. That was magic. Ask Michigan State and Washington how that went after having their magic season.
Right.
It didn't. Cincinnati, like it's all kind of fallen since. So I think long term, Sonny Dykes is great for TCU. I think again, solid Big 12 program, could be the top dog in the Big 12, in the new Big 12. But for this season, selling stock in TCU.
I like it. They had a lot of NFL talent, like you said. And it's tougher for a team like that to reproduce 1 year later. So I agree. And I love Sonny Dykes. I think he'll be good long term as well.
They what, 8 guys drafted? 9 guys drafted?
Yeah, but they had several guys who I think it was 9. They had a couple who didn't get drafted who left. So it's just a big number to try to replace off of that team. And just changing quarterback regardless is always going to be tough. So, okay. So coming back to me for my sell, we were talking about lightning, or talking about having that magic. I want to kind of dive into that as well. Jacob, if you've got the numbers up, I'm picking between 2 here.
Okay.
I might end up selling both since I still have my second one, but give me the Tennessee number.
Ooh. It's 9.5.
Easy. All right. We're selling them. I'm not even going to give you my second one. We're selling. All right. Reason being, they're just like Auburn in that they have Georgia and Alabama on the schedule. So Go ahead and mark those 2 losses down because they're not beating Alabama 2 years in a row. And Georgia's going to beat them this year. All right, again. That tells me that they only have to lose 2 more games. And we saw that even in their magical season last year, they went 9-3. So because they lost to South Carolina at the end of the season, I think there's another 1 or 2 of those on their schedule this year that sneak up and get them. You've got 2 known losses in Georgia and Alabama. You're going to have 2, losses that kind of come out of nowhere, whether that's a South Carolina again, whether that's a improved Missouri team that's going to, sneak up on some folks here and there. I'm not buying Missouri by any means, but anyways, there's teams to be had. Kentucky can take them down.
Austin
Florida.
P.
If Florida is wanting to do what they're wanting
Go
to
Govs.
do, I think I don't like Florida, and I think they're going to stink this year. But Tennessee, it took everything in them to win that game last year with Hendon Hooker. So what happens if they lose that game this year? So I think it's an easy sell of Tennessee taking a step back. They're counting on Joe Milton to do a lot of heavy lifting. I know they've got Nico. He's a string bean. In the SEC, I think he gets snapped in half like a pine tree in, a tornado. So we'll see what happens. But I had to give a nice little Southern reference. People understand that. We'll see. We'll see with Tennessee. We're going to start to see this progression, though, of Heupel. Is he going to be able to recruit? I know he brought in a 5-star quarterback. I'm saying this for other positions. Is he going to be able to recruit those other positions to keep up? We know his offense is going to be good and put up points. Did any other of the rest of the team improve? We'll see. But I'm selling Tennessee for now.
Wow.
That's
David,
fair. I mean, yeah, no, that's fair. As the former Tennessee beat writer, I'll chime in here. I mean, 9.5. Yeah, you can comfortably write down Georgia and Alabama as likely losses due to the fact, they beat Alabama last year, but they got to go to Tuscaloosa this year. Would be their first victory there in quite some time. I do think they will be quite motivated to play the reigning 2-time national champions at home this season. Georgia is obviously at this point a juggernaut, a powerhouse. I think you can write that one down as a loss. Where else do they lose? We'll see. But I'm like you. I think Heupel's system is such that you can sort of expect a dud or 2 every year where the 3-and-outs start to pile up and the defense just gets waxed. And we saw that happen against South Carolina. So, that gets you back down to 9, which is under the total. When you got somebody like Hendon Hooker on the way out, it's a big ask. We've seen Joe Milton throw the football. The guy has a cannon. He is not accurate, though. He can throw the ball a mile, but can he throw it where he wants to and where Josh Heupel wants him to? We will see. That is the $1 million question here, because I don't like the idea of turning to a true freshman and expecting that philosophy to replicate a 10-win season. So I'm okay with that. I think that's fair. I don't think they fall off a cliff by any stretch, but I think 9 wins is probably more likely than 10.
I've got them at 8 wins, by the way. But
okay,
them and Auburn at 8. But
wow, Auburn is going to win the same number of games. That would be something. That would be
that would be something. All right, David, what's your last sell team here?
Yeah, I'm going to Minnesota.
Ooh.
By the way, did y'all know that people in the Midwest call cornhole bags? They say, "Oh, you guys want to throw bags?" It's really offensive.
I did not know that.
It's really offensive.
Did you guys also know that people in the North do not watch It's a Wonderful Life?
I don't watch It's a Wonderful Life.
I've never seen that movie.
Are you?
My grandmother makes me. So I know I've watched it, and I know about it.
I know what it is.
Jimmy Stewart, and he had just come back from the war, so all his PTSD was real in that movie. So you're kind of watching it play out, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan. It's Christmas Vacation, Home Alone. I mean,
wow.
Elf, The Grinch, both of them.
Next
every
thing you
time
know,
a bell rings,
like angel gets its wings. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
So where am I going with all this? You might ask.
It just means more.
Well, Yeah. I fully expect Daniel to, at some point in his life, start calling cornhole bags now that I know he doesn't like It's a Wonderful Life. But no, we've interacted with a lot of Ohio people recently, and in my mind, Ohio and Minnesota are basically the same thing, right?
Same thing.
Yeah.
Exact same thing.
Big Ten, Midwest. So
That's right.
yeah. So Minnesota, I'm not really sure the tangent that just occurred, but they went 9-4 last year. So PJ Fleck's been rowing that boat. They were 9-4, but they didn't play Michigan or Ohio State. Now they are number 87 in Connolly's returning production. They add Michigan and Ohio State to the schedule. And oh, by the way, they play a non-con game on the road at North Carolina. So I've made the case pretty clearly there for why I think they are due for a pretty significant regression. But to add on top of it, they're turning the starting quarterback job over to Kaliak Manis, who did get some good playing time last season when Tanner Morgan was hurt. But it wasn't necessarily all that encouraging. He only completed 54% of his passes, more interceptions than TDs. Now they are turning the reins over to him. I see Minnesota struggling mightily to even sniff the 9-win threshold that Fleck established last year.
They also losing Braylon Oliver to Georgia Tech, linebacker, one of their leading tacklers from last year. So another reason I'm high on the Jackets, just saying. But anyways, Braylon Oliver leaving Minnesota.
Yep.
I like it. I took Minnesota's win total last year over because they didn't play Ohio State or Michigan. So that was a good eye there. Like that one. Daniel, what's your second team?
All right. I don't really want to do this, but what's LSU's win total?
No, Daniel, 9.5.
Yeah, we're gonna sell LSU. Just had to do a quick little. Hey, everybody wasn't on them. Now they're on them. Alabama's gonna beat LSU this year, so let's go ahead and count that. I have Auburn beating LSU this year, potentially. So I think LSU is just going to kind of regress to the mean a little bit. I think they're going to be a 9-win team this year. So selling a 9.5 for them to be a 9-win team, I don't think is crazy. I just think that they weren't necessarily ahead of schedule. I just think they did what they were supposed to do. They are who they are. They play Florida State to start the year, and that's going to be a good game. They lost to Florida State last year and still won 9 regular season games, 10 games overall. Had a great bowl game. Looks like they have 2 starting caliber quarterbacks. So again, it's a zig when everybody else is zagging. But you just look at the schedule. They have Alabama like they always do, and having Florida State in the non-con. I think this is a murderer's row of SEC West teams. They could lose to Arkansas. They could lose to Ole Miss. They could lose to Auburn. They could lose to a lot. They could lose to Texas A&M because they did so last year. So there's a lot of just landmines on the schedule. I don't think they lose to Florida for what it's worth, but there's reason for me to believe they're going 9-3 this year rather than 10-2, 11-1, or potentially representing the West in the SEC.
I have a lot more to say about LSU. You'll have to tune in for our SEC West preview later in the summer. So I'll save it for that.
Ooh, the tease of all teases.
I'm not even going to say if I agree or disagree. LSU. All right, so from 10-2 LSU to 9-3 LSU. Well, I guess they went 9-3. So you're saying they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Dude, that A&M.
It's a perception thing. I'm selling a perception.
Yeah.
I was buying on a perception last year, and I'm selling.
Fair.
LSU is basically making me a lot of money, and I'm not sad about it at all.
All right. This is a sad one for me that I'm selling. This is a team that I've ridden for a few years now, actually. And Daniel, you can be a
USC.
testament to this. It's not USC. Remember how I've talked about trends and hey, they went from 2 to 5 to 7.
I
they're
mentioned
taking
them
these steps
earlier.
forward. We're going to the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Oregon State. I'm selling the Oregon State stock. So, and here's the thing. I think DJU is such a good fit. I think he's going to
I was
I think
thinking
he
you
can
were
look much
selling
better.
DJU. This is a fade DJU
No. This is
play.
I like DJU. The problem is their over under win total is at 8 flat, and the Pac-12 is stacked. And with their schedule, I was pulling it up. They get Oregon on the road last game of the season. They have to play Washington and Oregon back to back last 2 games of the season. They get San Diego State out of conference. They play Utah and UCLA, out of the South. There's no divisions this year, but they just got a bad draw of Pac-12 teams. Like if you look at the top 6 Pac-12 teams, they got at least 4 of the 6 on their schedule. And so I just think schedule wise, it doesn't line up for them. And then you're asking them to go out and beat Cal, who might be sneaky good this year, Arizona, who's getting better on the road under Jed Fish. They got San Jose State out of conference, which, they've been good recently out of the Mountain West. So I just think with this schedule getting to 8, I hate that I'm doing this. And also, this really sold it for me. It wasn't even the win total. It was actually on the CBS Sports post-spring top 25. They had them at 15. And I was like, Oregon State's not a top 15 team. They might be a top 30 team. They're not a top 15 team. So Oregon State, relative to expectation, I think they took those steps forward, but I think their ceiling in the current Pac-12 structure is right there at 8 wins. I think that is, if you're going 8-4 at Oregon State, keep signing extensions for Jonathan Smith, because that's you can't ask for much more at Oregon State than going 8-4. So relative to expectation, I rode them taking all these steps the past 4 years. I think they hit the ceiling, and so it's time to sell now.
Smart play. No, I like that. Yeah, I mean, even with USC and UCLA moving on, it's still going to be hard for them to surpass Utah, Oregon, Washington in that league. So I think you're right.
You can say Cal. We're not going to jump on you.
Yeah, Cal. But yeah, the poor Bears, I think they're going to end up in the Ivy League before it's all said and done. That's probably where they belong.
Probably.
Who knows? What is even going to happen?
Stanford belongs in the Ivy League.
Yeah.
Stanford's win total?
3.5.
It's 3.5.
Ooh.
It's right at 3. 3 even at DraftKings. Dude, this is a team
what's Colorado at?
Colorado, I think theirs at 3.5 or 4. Let's see. 3.
Yeah.
Yikes.
They got a rough schedule too.
They do have a hard schedule. My thing is, dude, if he goes out and wins 4 games, that was a 400% increase from last year. So
Oh yeah.
I'm like 4-8 would be a huge success given what that team was last year. But there'll be plenty of people who are gonna say that was a failure for Dion. I'm like,
who's not going to watch that TCU Colorado game?
Oh my God.
Team that just played for the national championship against Coach Prime. I mean,
I think TCU's gonna blow them out.
I think so too. Who's not going to watch it? That's gonna, I'm going to tune
100%.
in and be like, oh yeah, let's see and then it's not going to be a game.
All right, everyone. Since we're doing so well on our buys, here's the teams you need to buy stock in: Texas, Oregon, Louisville, Florida State, Georgia Tech, and Wisconsin. All right.
You're holding back Georgia Tech. I felt it.
I really tried. I was like, I need to hold this one, Georgia Tech.
Here's the thing. Sorry to interject, but last year y'all both looked at me like I was crazy when I said 10-2 LSU.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. Listen,
You're right.
We'll see,
dude. And after week 1, I was like, you're about to get smoked. I'm like, they lost week 1 to Florida State. Like you're done.
Because you were high on Florida State last year, and so we were both watching that game with the most. I mean,
oh yeah, it was awesome.
Anyways, sorry.
Sell your stock in Oregon State, TCU, Auburn, Minnesota, Tennessee, and Daniels LSU Tigers. Man, sad to see the fall from glory. But
I think David and I will both be pulling for Florida State to beat LSU in that first game.
Yeah.
So we could both be right.
That's right.
I want Florida State to be right for him, and need LSU to have a loss early in the season to get my number right.
And we will be at war unofficially over Auburn.
That's right, unofficially.
We'll definitely be texting about it for sure.
David, you got anything good coming this week over at CBS?
Well, this is the week of the coach rankings, so buckle up. It's always a fun exercise. Yeah,
David famously has been super solid on his rankings recently.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I made the bold move of putting Kirby Smart at number 1 after he won consecutive national titles. So he has officially, guys, surpassed Dan Mullen.
Finally better coach than Dan Mullen.
Yeah, exactly. So we rolled that out in 2 parts. So it's like an ultimate like tease because day 1 is like 69 through 26 or whatever. And then we do like 1 through 25 after that. So,
when do those articles come out?
Well, let's see. I think it's for Tuesday and Wednesday. So by the time this pod is on the feeds for a lot of folks, I'm sure it'll be. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be matriculating into the cyberspace.
Who was your coach in the top 10 and you felt like you bought low? I mean, like, who do you feel like, oh man, I put this coach in the top 10 that no one else did?
Probably Kyle Whittingham. Well, I have him higher in the top 10 than I'm sure most people do because I have him at 6, which is 1 spot ahead of where I have Brian Kelly, which I'm sure will confound some people. But I think when you take Utah to multiple Rose Bowls in a short span and sustain success out there so long at a place where it's hard to recruit, it says you're a pretty good coach, and Brian Kelly is too. But as of now, I think Kyle Whittingham deserves to be 1 spot ahead of him. So yeah, we'll see. I have no idea how my colleagues voted on it. There's a lot of variance in this because we all bring different criteria to the board.
That's right.
But that makes it fun. And I think this will be a year where there's a lot of movement. It'll be the year where Kirby Smart established himself as the clear-cut number 1. That's I know for a fact. I mean,
number 1, you think?
There's no way, right? Like, I mean, at this point, he's won consecutive national titles. Nick Saban is north of 70. I think I gotta believe that my coworkers are going Kirby at 1. And I know y'all are, y'all are Georgia people, and you try to be cautious about, you don't want to like assume a certain thing about a team, right? Yeah. Exactly. You're conscious of your biases, and so you might be skeptical. Okay, is Kirby really number 1? Yes, I think he is. I don't think there's any doubt.
Love it. Love to see it. Can't wait to read all that too. I love reading that every offseason. Is the CBS coach rankings because y'all do it consistently. I know, like every year it's a big deal. The 2 articles, so excited to read that. If you listen to this, be sure to go read that over at cbssports.com. You can follow David on Twitter at David A. Cobb, right? W Cobb. That's the problem is I think I did David A. Cobb one time and I tagged something and it wasn't you. Anyway, you can follow David on Twitter.
Yeah, he's like the Green Party presidential candidate like every 8 years. Yeah.
Is that really what it is? That's so funny. Well, you can follow him at David W. Cobb and follow his writings on cbssports.com for college football and college basketball. You can follow Daniel on Twitter at Deep South of Daniel. You can follow me on Twitter at Jacob Carnes with a K. You can follow us on social media at the Extra Point Pod on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. That's right. Thanks for listening. That'll do it for this edition of the Extra Point. He is Daniel. I'm Jacob. That's David as well. See ya.